Welcome to Coffee with Bridget. And today's coffee is a mystery. It is literally a question mark. I think this is the second time that I've done the question mark coffees on my Coffee with Bridget's. But they're pretty fun. And they come in every Twin Rivers variety pack almost. And I don't know if it's the same flavor, but it's always yummy. And I have it in my Let the Adventure Begin mug. And it is yummy, yummy, yummy. So, today I want to talk about the psychology of magic. Now, people can look at me and go, she is totally woo-woo. And that does not bother me. But my practices are grounded in psychology. So much so that I actually wrote a book called The Psychology of Magic. And I will be the first to say, when it comes to minerals, crystals, and rocks, that this is just a rock. This is just a tangible, physical thing that you can touch. And this is blue apatite. And I've been working with this particular one for a little while because I have no appetite. This mineral, the meaning that has been attached to it is moderation. So whenever we are dysregulated, whenever we are feeling a little out of sync, whenever we're feeling like we're going to extremes, this is the rock that symbolizes being in that in-between place, that place of moderation. You can grab it, tangibly feel it, and feel your intention. Set your intention with this. Recently, I've been working with it because I've had no appetite. Physically carrying it reminds me, hey, it's 9 o'clock. Maybe I need to eat a little bit of something for breakfast. Maybe it's a couple of celery sticks, a little piece of carrot. But having this as a physical reminder in my pocket helps me to work with the intention that I'm setting to eat more healthy and eat more regularly. So that is how minerals and crystals work. They're symbols. They represent something to you in your mind that is a tangible thing that you can hold on to. It grounds you, grounds the intention into reality. Whenever we can take a thought and make it tangible, it's like writing in a journal. It uses different parts of the brain. And so when I created my book, The 13 Moons, and my moon rituals, and when I first started working with moon rituals, I liked engaging all 5 senses. And it engages many different parts of the brain. So the sense of smell, it actually connects with a nervous system part, it's called the olfactory nerves, I believe, that overrides the frontal lobes. It reminds you of a place and evokes a sense of peace depending on the smell. I like sandalwood. I remind myself of the redwoods, of standing in nature and being in awe of nature. That's what sandalwood represents to me. That's the image, that's the feeling that it evokes. So smell evokes a certain visceral reaction. So you're engaging that part of your nervous system. And each time you do, and you create a rhythm, you are creating a system of safety for yourself. You're programming your mind to associate this with safety. You're telling your nervous system it is safe. Visual. We have the crystal grove, we have the candles. We can look at our beautiful sacred space or our altar and see a tangible, beautiful representation of our intentions, a physical example saying, this is what I want. This is what I am going for in this life right now. So visual, auditory, hearing. We use things like drums, rain sticks, tuning forks, Tibetan singing bowls, each associated with a different element in my book. They evoke reactions on the physical level. Music evokes physical reactions. It brings up memories. You can hear a song and you automatically go back to a time that you first heard it. Sound is very powerful, especially rhythmic sound, like the ones that I've already talked about, drums in particular, Tibetan singing bowls. Rhythmic sounds really help ground us in reality. Taste, the tea. It literally helps calm the nervous system to have a hot a hot drink really works to calm it. It's a comforting thing. So the tea helps ground and comfort people in that way. So I did taste, visual, sound, smell. Um, I'm blanking on the fifth one. I'm having a day. But the 13 moons engages all the senses so that different parts of the brain are activated. And a ritual is teaching and regulating your body each time you do it. So I wanted to read a little bit from The Psychology of Magic, the back of the book, and the introduction to you. So the Psychology of Magic explores the meeting place between ritual and the human mind, where crystals, symbols, intention, and story become tools for healing, grounding, and transformation. Blending spiritual practice with psychological insight, Bridget Corns invites readers to look beyond superstition and into the real mechanisms behind magical thinking, meaning making, emotional regulation, trauma processing, and the power of narrative. Through accessible explanations and personal reflection, this book reframes magic not as fantasy, but as a deeply human way of coping, growing, and relearning agency. Whether you work with crystals, tarot, prayer, meditation, or simple daily rituals, Psychology of Magic offers a compassionate framework for understanding why these practices feel powerful and how to use them intentionally, safely, and with self-awareness. This is not a spell book. It's an invitation to understand yourself. All right, let's get into the introduction. There is nothing dearer to my heart than magic. Not the kind found in fantasy novels or on distant mountaintops, but practical, simple, everyday magic that can be woven gently into ordinary life. This is the kind of magic that lives in intention, in ritual, in quiet moments when we choose to work with our own energy rather than against it. This practical magic is the foundation of my moon rituals and crystal grids, and is the heart of the practices I shared in the 13 moons. In that book, I invited you into my personal rituals, not as rigid rules, but as living practices meant to support emotional balance, self-reflection, and healing. They are tools for listening to yourself more deeply and for creating moments of meaning in a world that often feels rushed and disconnected. But alongside my love of magic, I have always been fascinated by the human mind. Over time, I began to notice that many of the effects people experience through ritual, symbolism, and intention are also studied within psychology and neuroscience. Concepts like the placebo effect, pattern recognition, emotional regulation, and cognitive priming all offer insight into why ritual can feel powerful, and why it can genuinely help people shift their inner world. So in this book, I want to explore an exciting question. What if magic and psychology are not opposites, but partners? Rather than dismissing ritual as just belief, modern research suggests that belief itself is a potent force. Our brain responds to symbols, repeated actions, expectation, and meaning in measurable ways. When we engage in ritual, we are not merely performing tradition. We are shaping attention, emotion, memory, and perception. In other words, we are actively working with the mind. The goal of this book is not to strip magic of its mystery, nor to reduce sacred practices to clinical techniques. Instead, it is to build a bridge, to show how ancient intuitive practices align with what we are now learning about the brain, the nervous system, and the way humans create transformation from the inside out. So whether you come to this book as a spiritual seeker, a curious skeptic, or someone simply looking for practical ways to feel more grounded and empowered, I invite you to explore how intention, ritual, and belief interact with psychology to create real and meaningful change. Without further ado, let us begin our journey into the psychology of magic. So that is the introduction. And if you can see on the cover, I have the crystal grid, tea, incense, and a candle. I don't have a sound tool, but I am invoking the senses just in the picture, the cover of the Psychology of Magic. That is pretty much how my sacred space looks like. And I'll do a video on sacred space and how to create a sacred space in your home. It's very simple and it's very meaningful. It's a place of refuge that you can have to go to. And crystal grids could be a very important part of that because it sets an intention. But that is what I wanted to share with you today in the Psychology of Magic, that what I do isn't necessarily just woo-woo. There is purpose behind it, thinking, mental planning. There's always a little something in the psychology of it. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it explained a little bit, grounds magic in a way that you can work with it. Take care and bye for now.